This is absolutely crazy. Jurgen Klopp is going to leave Liverpool at the end of the season. He's just announced it. It's just been confirmed by the club in an official statement. It's one of the biggest news stories the Premier League's seen in a very, very long time. Arguably, for many people, Liverpool may be the biggest club in the country, at least second biggest, and one of the most successful managers ever, not only in the Premier League era, but ever, leaving Liverpool Football Club. This is absolutely huge. And the thing that makes it even bigger for me is that it feels premature. We'll get into sort of my breakdown of what this means for Liverpool moving forward. And obviously we'll touch upon the comments he made in an official video on Liverpool's website just recently. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. We're going to break down what this means for Liverpool in this video. Let's just start off with the announcement. It was quite a somber, simple message. Obviously, he's kind of sat there in a sweater and he's talking about feeling tired. He's talking about going again and again and again, and maybe the pressure that comes with having to reinvent yourself as a modern manager, that you can't just have a side and sit there for 5, 6, 7 years. You have to keep reinventing. You have to keep investing in the squad. And on a personal level, it looks like he's absolutely shattered at doing that. Now, it's just, the reason this video, I'm shocked in this video, is because I think he's created an incredible second generation of a Liverpool side, a side that brought a lot of young players through. I mean, the amount of young players that were playing instead of absentees against Fulham in the League Cup semi-final. Liverpool just got to another cup final. How many cup finals has he taken them to? But the amount of young players involved, the amount of signings that they made in the summer to replace the Hendersons, the Fabinhos, the Firminos of the world, they've got such a young, exciting side that the reason this is shocking, this isn't Alex Ferguson in 2013 when Rio Ferdinand was at the back end of his career, and Carrick and Scholes and all these guys, Giggs. This is completely different. This Liverpool second generation side looks like it's being built in Jurgen Klopp's image. And that's fair enough. You know, great managers can still build sides in their image and then choose to leave for personal reasons. It feels like a personal reason for Jurgen Klopp. And we have to look at it. And football is a brutal sport. Liverpool, there's so much pressure around Liverpool. And at the end of this video, we're going to talk about Jurgen Klopp's legacy in the Premier League. But a snippet would be, he's one of the greatest managers to ever grace not only European football in the last 20 years, but certainly in Premier League football. He's one of the greats ever. But we've got to remember that there's a human attached to what happens at Liverpool Football Club. And Liverpool Football Club at the moment, it's all breezy, it's light-hearted. There's a lot of young players coming through. They're playing beautiful football. They're building up to a beautiful end of the season. People are talking about a second quadruple season. Not quite the same as the first one for obvious reasons, but they're still talking about a quadruple season. That's how good this Jurgen Klopp side are at the moment. They're in a cup final at Wembley. They're favourites against Chelsea. They're through their group in Europe. They're going to be easily through against Norwich City at home. What a game that would be in terms of the atmosphere at Anfield. And then they're top of the Premier League. The Premier League that they'd never won before. They'd never won the Premier League in its modern iteration until Jurgen Klopp came to the club. So it's absolutely huge news for the Premier League. It's huge news for rival fans as well, rival clubs. You know, the Guardiolas of the world. What happens at Man United? What happens at Chelsea in the next few years? It could help them in a huge way because Liverpool have to get this right. So we've addressed where Liverpool are this season. I think they're in a very, very strong position. And it looks like Jurgen Klopp is just maybe happy of where he's taken this Liverpool side. Let's just look at his legacy at Liverpool Football Club. I'm very keen to see what you think in the comments down below. I'll be obviously in the comments as soon as this video goes live because this is a very shocking piece of news, really. It's come out of nowhere on some level. Jurgen Klopp came to a Liverpool side that had, just come off the back of having Balotelli up front and Martin Skrtel kicking around and Daniel Agger, with all due respect, decent players, some of them. Barini, less so, Mignolet. He came in and installed a work ethic in his first season that it took them from somewhere around mid-table in terms of the amount of distance covered under Brendan Rodgers to a side that dropped the name Liverpool. It wasn't about Liverpool Football Club anymore. It was about playing for the team. It could be team Dulwich Hamlets in the Sunday League, or it could be anyone you want. But what Jurgen Klopp came to do at Liverpool, he rebuilt Liverpool from the ground up. And the first aspect to that was work ethic, pressing from the front, simplistic play that kind of got to the heart of the issue, not knocking it around, but being courageous, playing that first ball, first time through the midfield, through the defence, scoring the tap-in, squaring it off to someone else, being selfless. Mane, Salah, Firmino, what a front three. So Jurgen Klopp built one of the most deadly front threes ever seen in Premier League football. One of the most deadly defences and tough defences ever seen with Alisson, Robertson, Van Dijk. Jurgen Klopp owes at least 20 to 25 careers being at the top level of their generation in football because of Jurgen Klopp. I just mentioned Robertson came out of Hull City. Van Dijk came out of Southampton. So many others. I don't have enough time in this video to talk about his legacy in terms of what he did for individual players and bringing them on and making them better. And obviously the chief example would be Mohamed Salah. Mohamed Salah is one of the greats of Premier League football. For a lot of people, you could put him in an all-time Premier League 11 easily. I think for Liverpool fans, I think you have to put him in an all-time Liverpool 11. That's how good. I mean, think of the greats that have played for Liverpool. Salah gets in those 11s because of Jurgen Klopp, and it's as simple as that. He applied this kind of work ethic to Salah. I think he trimmed the fat off of Salah's game in terms of a lot of skills, a lot of showboating, and turned him into someone so ruthless, so athletic, so hard-working that he created one of the greatest players of all time, in a similar way to how Ferguson created hundreds of players to a great level, but the Rooneys of the world turned David Beckham into the player he was as examples. Rio Ferdinand. These players would never have been the same without Ferguson. Same with Mourinho, same with Pep Guardiola, and same with Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp goes down with the Paiseys of the world. He goes down with so many others of the greatest managers of all time, and by far ahead of Benitez, Dalglish in the modern era, in the 90s. He's far and away the best manager Liverpool have ever seen in the Premier League era. So that's just my overview of where Jurgen Klopp leaves Liverpool. Let's just talk about where Liverpool go from here. I'm very keen to what you think in the comments down below. And if you've watched this far, make sure you subscribe. We'll be covering this topic a little bit more, I imagine, on this channel. Where do Liverpool go from here? My first gut instinct as a football fan was Pep Lijnders. Obviously, he's built a bit of a career around himself where he is the number two. He is the guy. A bit like maybe how Steve McLaren came out of Ferguson's shadow a little bit, and a few others, of course. He looks like the guy that could continue the mould for Liverpool and keep that going. But obviously, there are loads of examples of clubs where that happens and the change isn't enough, and the second coach doesn't have the same vitality, doesn't have the same aura, gravitas that Jurgen Klopp does. And Pep Lijnders coming in might be a bit of a risk because, again, it's his first managerial job. Look at what he did at Dortmund, Jurgen Klopp, winning the league. The last side that wasn't Bayern Munich to win the league was a Jurgen Klopp side. So that would be a risk for me. You have to let me know in the comments in terms of managerial appointments that Liverpool could make. Do they make a departure away from where they came from? It's very, very hard to both find a replacement for Jurgen Klopp that's vastly different, because I still think they need continuity. I think there's an issue there for Pep Lijnders in terms of his experience. I don't doubt he's a great footballing mind and a great coach. Maybe he thinks he could rise to the occasion. But Liverpool, we can't forget where Liverpool were before Jurgen Klopp. They had Roy Hodgson, they had Brendan Rodgers, who didn't do bad, certainly. But there was a lack of identity after Rafa Benitez, and Kenny Dalglish had a spell as well, of course. So this Liverpool side has to find identity as quick as possible. I'd worry for Liverpool in terms of the chasm that great managers leave. However well you spend, however well you invest in the club afterwards, the kind of the black hole that is left after a great manager departs a football club is almost, you just have to sit there and just say it might take 3, 4, 5 years to get back to that level, even 10. Look at Man United, haven't won a league in 10 years since Ferguson. So that's just the comment about where Liverpool go in the future, because he's one of the great managers. He's one of the greatest managers. I dare say he's the best manager in world football right now, pound for pound, a bit like Floyd Money Mayweather. And in terms of all time, I think he's top 5 in Premier League era. I think he's just behind Mourinho and Ferguson and Guardiola. But I'd put him alongside Arsene Wenger. And then he's won European. He's been to more European Cup finals, 4 times as many as Arsene Wenger, and actually won one. So he's in that discussion for Arsene Wenger terms, in my opinion. But it's a sad one a little bit, because ultimately Jurgen Klopp looks very dour in the video, a little bit somber, a little bit stoic, and it looks like a guy that's maybe at the end of his energy. Look at these great managers. They sometimes have to take time off. I mean, Pochettino took time off. I'm not comparing him to Pochettino, but modern managers certainly. Guardiola had to take a year off, a sabbatical in New York, of course. And you feel that City have kind of built a club around him where he can relax and do the bare minimum to get what he needs out of the club. And maybe Jurgen Klopp felt that the weight of the club was too much on him. Maybe he's making too many diamonds out of rough cuts that maybe FSG are giving Liverpool. That's an argument. I'm not saying the ownership at Liverpool is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but he might be sat there thinking, well, I'm having to craft young kids coming through. Look at Conor Bradley at right back. I have to craft the Quansah coming from Bristol Rovers back on loan. I have to craft these kids in order to get a tune out of them within a season to try and compete for anything. And that must be a lot on the training ground. That must be a lot to compute on a mental level. That's like running a giant business and you're doing a lot more than maybe you should do by yourself. That's just my perception. So it's a bit of a sad day for the Premier League. One of the great managers is choosing to leave. Will he ever come back in any capacity? That would be very, very interesting. Will he ever come back to Liverpool? I could see that happening, definitely, in terms of the romance. Just a final word. I think he is Liverpool through and through. And for a German to kind of change perception a little bit. Obviously, Liverpool got a rich history, with kind of the Irish and the kind of a few Scotsmen, of course, as well, and obviously the local kind of legendary status of players that come from Liverpool itself. But for a German to come over and make a dent in the kind of the rich history, one of the greatest narratives in all of football is what Liverpool Football Club are as an institution, and for him to come over and kind of put a modern spin on it, make them ruthless when they're at their best, win European Cups, win unbelievably the Premier League for the first time in their history, to bring through the youth, to transform players' careers, and to ultimately, in the era of where I think fans are being mistreated and misrepresented to the largest proportion we've probably ever seen in football, he brought football back to Liverpool Football Club. He brought the game back to the great football club that is Liverpool on some level. So he's a legend for that. He's a legend to Liverpool fans as well. And he's one of the great managers to ever do it. Very interesting to see where he goes from here. I reckon he'll take a year out and maybe he goes to Germany after Euros for the World Cup in 26. Not a bad little job if you think about that, because Germany have got some exciting players coming through. Maybe it's Bayern Munich. Maybe it's no one. Maybe he retires from here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you very, very soon.